Shalom, family. How's everyone doing? All right, good, good. So we're here our last day of the Feast of Dedication. So the eighth day. So all praise to the Most High for us being able to celebrate this eighth day. And a big part of that, just like we were doing, among us the first day, is understanding the history. The history is very important in terms of why we celebrate what it is we're celebrating. In the world, they have all these customs. What's the custom in the world they're about to keep now? Exactly. But yet and still, they don't understand the origin of the history in terms of what they're keeping and why they're keeping it. Only this fact that it is a custom, it is a tradition. So, but we know what it is that we worship and why we worship the power that we worship, as well as the feast that He's ordained for us to keep in celebration and honor of both Him, as well as us and our forefathers and our people. So it's a double honor to be able to serve the Creator, the Most High God, and being able to, relate to the history of our forefathers and foremothers through understanding where it is we came from and what it is we went through. So we're gonna go ahead and let's open up with let's get First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. And get the book of First Maccabees chapter 1, and we're going to read verse 1 through 3. The book of First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 1. And it says, and it happened. So what was that happened? That prophecy that was fulfilled in the book of Daniel. So that's what happened, the book of Daniel chapter 7, that deals with that prophecy of the fall of the Persians and the Medes and the rise of the Greeks through Alexander the Great, who is Alexander the Greek. So and it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, the king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in the stead the first over Greece. And this is generally around approximately 333 BC. So that this happened. Verse 2, and made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth, and went through to the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him, whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up. So this is Esau rising into power. His first kingdom as ruling the world, the known world at that time, okay? To rule the known world at that time, you didn't have to rule what we would think today, all right, everywhere, but you had to rule the main areas or epicenters where people were. So that was primarily in the northern region of Egypt. That's where you get like Alexandria's, okay, that city, Alexandria. So that's through Alexander the Great. Then you also have a situation where Asia Minor and those areas, you had to rule those areas and be considered ruling the world. So, in that region, in those areas, that's what you had. So now, as many, in the world do, is even today, especially with Esau, they attribute their power and their ability to rule to what? To themselves. They don't give honor to the Most High God, that He's the one that put them in that place. No, they give power unto themselves, that I did this. I was able to make this happen. Look what I was able to accomplish. We don't want that. And that's where, ego comes, and it can lift us up higher than what we are. When the Most High, He's the one that's in control. Nah, I'll let you have this, for a season. So the scriptures say the deceived and the deceiver are His. He controls the good and the bad. So let's go ahead, and of course, from there, and we read First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 1 through 3. Let's go ahead and get First Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 6. So let's jump down to verse 6. So verse 6, it says, whereas he called his servants, such as were honorable, and had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them while he yet lived. So, here you have, this is approximately 343 BC, approximately, okay, that he was dying, and those that he had came up with, because Alexander the Great, like many, he came into rulership very young. So very young. I want to say approximately 21 years of age, give or take a year. And, he ruled for a short time period, So, and I want to say he could have been very well 20, reigned for them 12 years. So as I said in verse 7, so Alexander reigned 12 years and then died. He got sick. Some say it was syphilis or things of that nature, or some other type of sexually transmitted disease. But nevertheless, he got sick and died. Okay, so but it was already prophesied that that would be the case. You read about that in the book of Daniel. So here you have in a situation where Alexander the Greek, he had conquered all the nations and gained control of the known world at that time, the Eastern world and Africa. And of course, he appointed 4 of his generals over the land that he ruled. So generally, you had Ptolemy ruling the area, Ethiopia and Egypt. You generally had Cassander over Macedonia and Greece, and Seleucid over Syria and Babylon. And you had Lysimachus, he was over Thrace and Asia Minor. So that's how you generally had those areas. Those are his 4 generals, or I believe it's called the Diadochi. So those 4 rulers, if you look them up in history. So now from there, let's go ahead and get 1 Maccabees 1 and 11. So, and actually before I get there, let me actually get I'll get verse 8 and 9 first. And it said, the servants bear rule, everyone in this place. And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves. So did their sons after them many years. So it wasn't a situation where their rulership was short. It was many years. It was generations that went by. You'll read as you read on. It was actually even later on, a couple hundred years that it went by, like 170, 130. I'll read it right now. That it went by. And it's after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves, and so did their sons after them many years. It was many years that went by. It said, and evils were multiplied in the earth. Although some don't like to hear this, need to be of the other nations or of our own people, but there is a direct correlation and causation of when you're dealing with evils being multiplied in the earth. It has a lot to do with Esau coming into power. So it's not necessary that everybody was destroying the earth and making things bad and wrong. You have some direct people to look at as numero uno in causing problems in the world. So now, let's read verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus or Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes. So, here you have a situation where this Epiphanes means God manifests. That they, and that's even a name that is passed down, as like a surname, like Pharaoh. So there wasn't just one Antiochus or Antiochus. So there were, a few of them. And so he was the king or ruler of that region, and it was a situation where their mindset became similar, like what you read with Alexander, that they were puffed up, and believed that, man, I am God in the flesh. So I am God, not necessarily, even as some people even do today, not giving honor to that there is a higher power than you, but no, I am the higher power. And you might think, well, shoot, you a man like I'm a man, or of mankind, or human like I'm human. But yet and still what they think, especially in that place being a ruler, you have to understand with that God complex how easy it is for one to become obscure between that line of godliness and humanity, in the sense of, well, as a king or ruler, guess what? I give the word, and as I say, so it is. If I say, hey, take this house, take this city, guess what? They're going to take that city and take that house according to my command. If I say, hey, make this banquet and this feast, hey, today we're just going to have a feast just because I said so. Guess what? The people knew they're going to have a feast because I said so. If it's a situation where, we have it where you would have certain people to be put to death because you just felt, hey, I don't like how he approached me or what he or she said, so I'm having put to death. That was the power that, you're looking at rulers had, kings had, queens had. So that they confuse or mistaken for, godhood. because even don't the scripture say, as God said, that's what it. So if I give the word, I am God. I say this. I decide who lives and who dies. I decide if you get to stay in your house tonight or if you get kicked out of your house. And therefore, that's where that godlike complex comes into the minds of human beings as what we're seeing. And they lose sight of a power higher than themselves. Although the scriptures say that, I said you are gods, but not in the way as if you are the most high God. You don't have ultimate power and control. But yet and still you are power, and the first power you have to have is power over oneself, over one's mind, thoughts, because those are going to then dictate your actions, which you should have power over. And that's what we're learning to become first and foremost, that spiritual God that the Most High called for us to be. And once you master the spiritual and the mental, then you can enjoy the physical. We always look at the physical first, powers and X-Men, but this comes first. This is the foundation. So from there, let's go ahead and let's continue on in verse 10. And it says, son of Antiochus the king, so again, that name being again passed down, who had been an hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. So as I was saying, and it was for some time, but 137 years, you're looking at from the time of Alexander up until now. So at this time, 11. And in those days, there went out of Israel wicked men, not righteous. It wasn't righteous. They wasn't moving right, which means that how they were proceeding the thoughts, this is not what coincides with how the Most High would have them to move or have us to move as a people. So who persuaded many. So now they had the gift of gab. They had encouraging words. They were able to know what to say, how to get people to move and act a certain way. And they persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant. And that's the phrase. They persuaded many. They were able to influence. Nowadays, we live in a day and age full of influencers. They were able to influence, not a few, but many. They were able to influence many. And it says, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So now, how you think they were literally saying, let us make a covenant with the heathen? Nah. What they were saying and persuading many, they're like, man, hey, it's you seen where we at? Look at our situation. I mean, man, it was better. Think of our forefathers when they was in Egypt. When they was in Egypt, they had everything. But then what happened when they went out in the wilderness? They lost it. Hungry, cold, didn't have water. Think about how our people were. That's the state we in right now. If anything, what we need to do right now, wisdom, we need to try to get in a space where we can be in a situation where we can be better for the people. So we can be in a better space for the people and be in a better situation where we ain't got to worry or struggle about all these various things. So we have to be in a space to where we have what we need. Right now, we ain't got what we need. Now, who wants to be in a better space? I'm asking. You want to be in a better space? I know I do. We can get in places in league with the other nations and be able to do and get from them the permission things we need to do, whatever treaty we need to make, so we can try to put our people in a better situation. That's what we need to be doing. Now, we can look around and see who's willing. It ain't got to be me. We can elect somebody, but I don't mind going and speaking up on our behalf to make sure we get in with these people, okay, so we can be taken care of because they got it together. We ain't got it together. We trying to get it together. We ain't got it together. We need to get in with them and get it together. That's what I'm saying. You with me? You with me? I'm with me. These were the types of conversations that they were having to persuade people to move in a way that was contrary to how the Most High wanted us to move. And you'll see to the extent in which we're talking about as we read on. It said, 11, those days there went out from Israel wicked men who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So the device pleased them well. In verse 13,
It's certain of the people that were so forward herein, so forward meaning so wicked herein, that they went to the king who gave them license. They were getting permission, license and permission, who gave them license to do after the ordinances of the heathen, who gave them permission to do after the ordinances of the heathen. That's what they were looking for. They wanted the king's permission to be able to do after their customs and their ways that were contrary to the ways of the Most High, as we say, and as we read on. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem. You might see, well, shoot, what's wrong with that? Exercise is good. We got to keep our bodies healthy. No. But read on. It's in context. It's a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, according to how they do it. Not just exercise, but according to how they got things going on. Okay? And they built them place of exercise, them gymnasiums, all right, which come from the Greek word gymnos, okay, which literally means to exercise naked. They were exercising literally naked. And that's part of what influences the culture of gyms today, to work out with hardly any clothing on. So in order to show much of your nakedness, which they do to this very day. And it doesn't mean necessarily that, you can't go to those establishments. It's just understanding to keep yourself while at those establishments, making sure you dress appropriately and you cover up more than what it is that others may do. That's what you have to remember, in the spirit. So, but if those places be a stumbling block, then you may have to take another course of action. Work out at a park, make a home gym, things of that nature, if those areas may be a stumbling block unto you. So go not down in a path wherein you might fall. So now, from there, it's understanding that, let's get verse 15 to understand the root. And made themselves uncircumcised. How do they make yourself uncircumcised? And this is why you read in the New Testament when you're dealing with, and we'll get that momentarily, when you're dealing with the circumcision versus the uncircumcision. They made themselves uncircumcised, which if you understand circumcision, that's that foreskin, that flesh being cut and removed, from that male member. That's what you're dealing with. So you can't just, all right, let me go and get it from years ago, put it back on. But when you're dealing with circumcision and uncircumcision, you're dealing with the level of cleanness and uncleanness. So when it's dealing with and made themselves uncircumcised, they made themselves unclean spiritually, now as the Most High. How? Read on. And forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief. You see, there's a difference. They didn't do what it is some of our forefathers did, like Daniel, who was third in command over the Persians in Medes, when you read the scriptures in his level, and then Joseph, who was, became second in command. Those men, they made sure that the Most High was at the forefront, even like with Mordecai and that's them getting in league with government. They made sure the Most High was at the forefront, and everything I did was according to the scriptures and according to the law and the scroll they had at the time. They didn't forsake that or abandon that or try to put their own spin or twist on it. They held true to that. So that was the case. So, however, at this time with these wicked Israelites, they weren't thinking that way. They were thinking, how can we get in league for ourselves? And that was a problem. Okay, that was an issue. So now let's go ahead and let's go over to 2 Maccabees 4 and 7 and read some of the problem with this. Let's get 2 Maccabees 4 and 7. 2 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 7, and read 7 through 9. 2 Maccabees chapter 4 and verse 7. But after the death of Seleucus, when Antiochus, called Epiphanes, took the kingdom, Jason, listen to this, the brother of Onias, labored underhand to be high priest. This man was wicked. So the brother of Onias, he labored, meaning he worked. He was putting in work, but putting in work on the wrong side of the fence and going about it in all the wrong ways. He went about it not through the front door, through the side door. He's going in an underhand way, in a shady and shiesty way, to try to be high priest, just to be high priest. He wasn't thinking about what was the best interest of the people, his people, but rather his own self-wills and egos and ideas in terms of what he was looking for. So, which wasn't right. So now a situation where, and it said Jason, the brother of Onias, labored on the other hand to be high priest, promising unto the king by intercession 360 talents of silver, and of another revenue 80 talents. Besides this, he promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set him up a place for exercise. And but listen to this, how he wanted to execute. And for the training up of youth in the fashions of the heathen. That's what he wanted to do, right? Let them keep Christmas how you keep Christmas. Saturnalia, Bacchus Day. Let us do it how y'all do it. That's where his mindset was at. And to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians. That's how he wanted to do. Let us be like y'all. We want to be true Greeks, you know. And that's part of it, them conversations he was having. Ain't y'all tired of, having to keep this dedicated? We got to do this and do that. And ain't y'all tired of down cheap tabernacle and Passover in this way? You got to clean up for this, got to do that. Wouldn't it be easy if you were just able to just show up, eat, just, it ain't even got to be for so many days. You just got to do like a day, maybe two. You ain't got to worry about getting burnt out with all these feasts and all these stuff. We just got a couple of feasts. You ain't got to worry about dressing a certain way. Come as you are. All these doctrines, all these belief systems, and people can buy into it because it sounds good. But we can't go with sounds good. We have to go according to what is good according to the scripts. There's a difference, and I have to make sure whatever it is I teach is according to this first and foremost. Otherwise, Most High put me to death. And even if he doesn't put me to death now, shoot, I got that lake of fire waiting if I don't move according to thus saith the Lord. So, but you have to have that fear that helps keeps you on that right path. Otherwise, you'll verge off. So in unbelief. So now let's go ahead. Let's go back to 1 Maccabees chapter 1 as we're reading verse 14 and 15. This is whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, and made themselves uncircumcised. Remember, we talk about that. Let's get Ephesians 2 and 11. Made themselves uncircumcised, because that's part of the history. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11. And it says, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands. Verse 12, that at that time you were without Christ, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. So what you're reading here, and you read throughout the New Testament, because remember, what time were they in? They were in the time of the Romans in the New Testament. What time are we in now? We're in the time of the Greeks, the kingdom that was prior to the Roman kingdom that would come after. And so this is where you're reading some of that history in terms of what happened, to our people and how they became uncircumcised, and why you have this what some may say beef, or some may say strife, or this division in terms of the circumcised and uncircumcised in the New Testament. This is the history of it right here that you're reading about. Okay, so now from here, let's go ahead and we're going to get the next book. Let's go ahead and let's read verse 20 through 27, the first Maccabees chapter 1. 20 through 27. And it reads, verse 20, and after that, Antiochus had smitten Egypt. He returned again in the 143rd year, and went up against Israel and Jerusalem with a great multitude. So now he conquering. He went for Egypt, now he coming for us. And entered proudly into the sanctuary, and took away the golden altar, and the candlestick of light, and all the vessels thereof. So he came in proudly, came in like he owned the place. Oh yeah, I'm taking that. Hey, yeah, get that. Yeah. Oh yeah, they don't need that. Yeah, take that. I like that. He came in proudly, taking the golden altar and the candlestick of light. This is, and all the vessels thereof. This is part of the big reason why we have in commemoration some of these items, especially that candlestick of light, because these are some of the most notable things that were taken when he ransacked and destroyed the temple. 22, and the table of the showbread, and the pouring vessels, and the vials, and the censers of gold, and the veil, and the crowns, and the golden ornaments that were before the temple, all which he pulled off. He took also the silver and the gold and the precious vessels. Also he took the hidden treasures which he found. He wasn't stopping. He was looking, oh yeah, get that, what they got behind here. Oh yeah, get all that. They got stuff hidden in the backpack. He was looking for everything, even the stuff we tried to have tucked and hidden away. He was taking everything. So let's continue. Verse 24. And when he had taken all away, he went into his own land, having made a great massacre and spoken very proudly. So this was devastating for our people. Verse 25. Therefore, because of all this, there was great mourning in Israel, in every place where they were. 26. So that the princes and elders mourned, the virgins and the young men were made feeble, and the beauty of women was changed. Why? Because after all this, people didn't have the same focus that like they did before. It was hard. You know, if you were courting or betrothed, it was hard to maintain that healthy relationship and continue building that, because most of your stuff was like, man, what just happened? Like everything that just happened. It was like, forget a death. It was like multiple deaths in the family at that time. It was like losing your mama, your grandmama, your daddy all at once, like, because you're losing your history and culture. And that put us in a state of confusion. All of that being lost. And as you read, that's where they were at. Let me read that. 27, every bridegroom took up lamentation, and she that sat in the marriage chamber was in heaviness. The land also was moved for the inhabitants thereof, and all the house of Jacob was covered with confusion. Why? Because our routine was lost. Imagine, some of you guys got routines, and your routine for the Sabbath, where you go, where you congregate, a fellowship, or how you set up your house and everything. Imagine someone came in and ransacked your house. They took everything. Everything, not just your jewelry. They took your cups, bowls, glasses. They didn't took your chairs, your couch, your TV. Think about it. All that taken away, your whole routine lost. That's just a sprinkle compared to everything here. We didn't have all the stuff we needed to normally worship the Most High. All the stuff they took. So it put us in a place where we lacked the order and structure that we had. Therefore, without order or structure, what do you have? Chaos and confusion. Oh, hey, man, the feast is going. We ain't got it. They took it. Well, can't we get the grills? They took that too. Hey, ain't the menorah supposed to be lit in here? Hey, they took all them. They took everything. So, and imagine something that's been in place for hundreds and a couple thousand years that ain't in place no more. History. Many of us, it's hard for us to find something passed down from our grandparents, let alone things you go on generations of parents, generations of grandparents that we share. Our daddies, our mamas. Think about that. That's a hard hit. When you know that think about losing that. That'll really drop you to a new low. Something that's always been there, passed down, no matter what age you are. So now, verse 29, and after 2 years fully expired, the king sent his chief collector of tribute unto the cities of Judah, who came unto Jerusalem with a great multitude. So now think about this. After 2 years, we still have not recovered. After 2 years, we still in a destroyed state. It wasn't just something for a day, a week, a month. This is why dedication is so big, because you got to understand how long we was down. You got to think, imagine if somebody ransacked your house and you still ain't recovered after 2 years. You still ain't got your furniture back. People still come over like, dang, you ain't got a couch yet? Chairs? Man, we still struggling just to get our appliances. Dang. That was the state. So this is the state that our people was in that was destroying us and had us in a place to where all was bad. So now let's get from here, and really from here, verse 30. Let's get, it said, and spake peaceable words unto them, but all with deceit. So even if they came and acted like they was in peace and everything was good, acting giddy. Hey, how's it going, friend? We're just coming through, making our runs, making sure everything's okay. Just want to make sure you guys are good. Yeah, everything's good. We just came to check on you guys. But all with deceit. The devil showed his face. For when they had given him credence, he fell suddenly upon the city and smote it very sore and destroyed much people of Israel. Think about that. And as soon as they gave the word, hey, friend, everything good? And, oh, it's work. Yeah. Uh-huh. Oh, now we're good? All right, family. So we're going to have to rile you guys up. Looks like we got a showdown going on, and you guys about to get it. All right. Swords drawn, please. All right. Besiege the city. Go ahead. Ransack the house. Let's gather what we can. Everything just switched up. New attitude. But it was already in there. You already knew what it was. They just want to make you feel at peace. Calm you down. So, verse 31. And we had taken the spoils of the city, he set it on fire and pulled down the houses and walls thereof on every side. So, it's just going from bad to worse. Bad to worse. We ain't recovered from before. Now it's just you destroying the city that much more. So let me skip down and read something. Verse 34. And they put therein a sinful nation, wicked men, and fortified themselves therein. Could you imagine you getting kicked out of your house? It was already ransacked. Now you're getting kicked out. And now they're in a place where they putting wicked people in, and then they fortifying them. They renovating the place. Oh yeah, we in here now? Oh yeah, let's put in some, them good windows in here. Let's get them doors. Let's get a bigger door and some stronger doors. Yeah, we need that solid wood. That's what happened. So even worse, 38, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them, whereupon the city was made a habitation of strangers and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. So, man, this is what was happening. Let me skip down verse 41 through 43. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, that new world order, all should be one. Verse 42, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. They give them speeches. There comes a time in man's history where we cannot be divided by nation, race, or creed, or religion. We need to come together in dark times, in desperate times, to be more than the boundary that separate us, and let us be defined, but not by our color or nation, but rather our humanity. And so I call all of you to set aside our differences and be one people under God. Yeah, thank you. Just thank you. Thank you. Those are the speeches they was making, so everyone agreed. Man, you know what? That's why I voted for him. That's why I voted. He's right. Set aside our differences. We need to be one. Yes, I agree. We need to be one people. Too much division. No good. I tell. Everyone agreeing, all the other nations. 43. Yea, many also the Israelites consented to his religion. Why would it say religion? Because religion is what you practice. It's your way of life. How do you live? That's what he put into place. And sacrifice unto idols and profane the Sabbath. That's what you have now. They want to be fully Americanized. Wake up smelling the American dream. And that's what happens. So 44, for the king has sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. So now it's saying, hey, look, whatever y'all doing, that's what y'all do. But this is what y'all really need to be doing. All right? This is what the new law is. This is what the law says. Whatever y'all doing and y'all can keep that. Y'all Boys and Girls Club, that's cute. Y'all need to be doing this. That's what was happening. Verse 45, and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days and pollute the sanctuary and holy people. So these were the things. They were trying to pollute us, just as they are today. 47, and set up altars and groves and chapels of idols and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts. That's everything. That's all what they're trying to do now. The biggest out of all the items they could give you, one of the biggest ones they try to push on you, that swine, that pig. Same then, same now. 48, and they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all matter of uncleanness and profanation, meaning everything under the sun they were trying to push on our people. Always trying to push you to do it. It ain't good enough that they do it. They got to make sure you do it. It ain't good enough. They just doing their celebrations and stuff, and they Saturday about their Christmas and everything. They got to make sure you celebrate it. You got to keep it. No, I can't keep that. They got to make sure that you do everything they doing. So, verse 49, this was the point. To the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. They want you to forget who you are and why it matters. Forget your history, accept ours. That's how they roll. Verse 50, whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die. So this is where it was getting to. Do or die. Do what we say, or we put you to death. That puts a whole nother fear on people. But guess what? It's through fear. That's how you get courage. You get bravery. It's not that any of us want to die. I got a large family. So I wouldn't want to lose any of them. And I would want to be here to make sure all of them make it to adulthood and hopefully be here to help them through it, at least the earlier years. But at times like this, you have to understand that these are the things that you live, fight, and die for, to help the next generations that will even precede the generation current, to try to set up our people in a better state. Because at the end of the day, they're destroying us anyway. And they're going to keep destroying us. Say verse 51. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city. 52, then many of the people were gathered unto them, to wit, everyone that forsook the law, and so they committed evils in the land. So that's what happened. A lot of our people, when the pressure comes, they gonna fold. So they gonna fold. And that's what's slowly happening, even at time down. People that pressure comes from friends and family, you fold. Because you don't want to be a stranger, amongst friends and family, amongst your social network. You don't want to sacrifice those relationships or the perception of them in order to be more at one with the Most High God. And so, because them you see and him you don't directly see. So you're worried about how I'm going to be viewed in the eyes of man more than how you're being viewed in the eyes of God, the Most High. So, and that's not good. So the scriptures say in Acts 5:29, hey, better that we obey God than man. Acts 5:29 or 30. So let's go ahead and let's get from here. Let's get 1 Maccabees 2, 1 through 5. 1 Maccabees 2, verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias. So during the time of these things going on, it says arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jeroboam from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin. So he was a Levite. He was actually a priest. Verse 2, and he had 5 sons. That's an honor. All praise the Most High. Have the honor of having 4. So sons is a gift. And he had 5 sons. Jonanan, called Caddis. 3, Simon, called Thasi. Verse 4, Judas, who was called Maccabeus. Verse 5, Eleazar, called Abiram. And Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis. So he had sons. So from there, let's go ahead and read verse 19 through 23. Verse 19, then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers and give consent to his commandments, yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's word to go from our religion either on the right hand or the left. So that's what you need. You need strong leaders. You don't need leaders that are going to sell out, tell you it's all right, just eat the pork, have the ham sandwich, it's good, receive with Thanksgiving. You don't want that. You want people, oh, what's wrong? Just keep Valentine's Day, New Year's, Halloween, Christmas. No, those things are unlawful. They're idolatrous. We don't keep those. So, thus saith the Lord. You learn the history of what it is you're keeping. So that way you know, nah, this is why I don't celebrate this anymore. So you can stand 10 toes deep on thus saith the Lord. So now, this is why they don't want you reading this history, aware of this history, because it gives you a sense of pride and a good sense of honor, dignity, okay, virtue, that I know what to stand for. I know what not to bend on. So I know now that no, what you're asking, that's something unreasonable according to the word. I can't bend on that, even if it costs me my life. So, but I know, according to the word of God, I'll live again. These were the things that your forefathers and foremothers were dying over. These were the things that had the prophets being hated. This is why they didn't like Christ. So people that were standing on the Most High's business. So let's continue. Verse 23. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which is at Modin, according to the king's commandment. So after all of that, now all of a sudden here comes, I know what he said, but if he ain't gonna do it, I'll do it. So, man, horrible timing. And what a spirit to be in. So I'm gonna do it anyway. 24, which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal. People think, oh, see, he just got mad. No. Getting emotional over this? No. Not every emotion is emotional. You could be angry, sad, whatever it is. It doesn't mean you're being emotional. Okay? And it doesn't mean it's a negative sense. Most I got emotions. You read history, he wept, cried, anger. So what are you talking about? It's within reason. It's based on the circumstance. He was righteously mad, angry. So because it was justified based upon what happened. So ain't a grown man having a hissy fit or being upset for no reason. Some people think that just anytime it's just a problem to be upset, just a problem to be sad. Our timber got destroyed. Reason to be sad, reason to be sorrowful, reason to be depressed. As long as you ain't just depressed for no reason or depressed every day. So there's times for everything. So now the same thing, he's inflamed with zeal. That he's because this is coming from I'm trying to uphold righteousness and what the scriptures say. So, and it says, and his reins trembled. He was so bruh, he had it up to here, past. So after everything, man, and where we at, there are people, and you just gonna sit up here and bring this? You serious? So, and it says, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment, according to righteous judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar. And also the king's commissioner, who compelled men to sacrifice, he killed at that time. And the altar he pulled down. Thus dealt he zealously for the law of God, like Phinehas did unto Zomri the son of Salem. And Mattathias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, Whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me. That's how he was, full of zeal. Like, look, we ain't bending over no. Man, we bent over enough. Enough is enough. We rising up. This is it. I had enough. So he and his sons fled into the mountains and left all that ever they had in the city. Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down into the wilderness to dwell there, both they and their children, and their wives, and their cattle, because afflictions increased sore upon them. So this was the situation. It was wartime. It can happen like that. For us, we've been in war. It's just we're going from one battle to the next. But for this actually kicked it off that, all right, this is it. This is it. So things were kicking off pretty high. So our people, this is us in revolt, okay? All of us in revolt. And a lot of this history you can read, about the Maccabees, the Hasmonean dynasty. You can read about a lot of these things that was happening, okay, that he continued, to do. Some of our people, they took different stances. You read that. Not everyone had the same mind in terms of how they were going to fight. Let me read some of that. So 32, they pursued after them a great number, and having overtaken them, they camped against them and made war against them on the Sabbath day. So they started being strategic. All right, we know this is day of rest. Let's sneak up on them. Get them when they think we ain't looking. Get them when they think all is good. Nah, they was playing dirty. So 33, and they said unto them, let that which ye have done hitherto suffice. Come forth and do according to the commandment of the king, and ye shall live. So it was like, hey, look, let's just call a ceasefire. It's been enough. Let's just rile down. Enough of the problems, enough of the beef. Let's get this together. Y'all just submit. That's all you got to do. We can end all this. They wanted to end it on their terms. And it's like, nah. 34, but they said, we will not come forth, neither will we do the king's commandment to profane the Sabbath day. So everything like, look, we ain't going to do that. We ain't going to profane the Sabbath that way, and no, we ain't fighting either. 35, so then they gave them the battle with all speed. They said, okay, well, light them up, slaughter them then. Howbeit they answered them not, neither cast they a stone at them, nor stopped the places where they lay hid, but said, let us die all in our innocency. Heaven and earth shall testify for us that ye put us to death wrongfully. Which they did put them to death wrongfully. But their mindset was, hey, look, we ain't defiling the Sabbath. We ain't fighting y'all. If y'all gonna kill us, so be it. That's how they felt. And they died. But guess what? They still stood for the word of the Most High. At the end of the day. And the Most High is still going to give them a crown for them upholding his law, statutes, and commandments. 38, so they rose up against them in battle on the Sabbath, and they slew them with their wives and children and their cattle to the number of 1,000 people. So and it could have been a camp, could have been a congregation, could have been a couple, or a few that shared similar mindsets or beliefs that, hey, we ain't going to battle on the Sabbath, this God, we resting, and if they going to kill us on the day of rest, so be it. And they all was on one accord. 39. Now when Mattathias and his friends understood hereof, they mourned for them right sore. But when word got back, word traveled throughout the camp, man, you hear what happened with brothers over there on so-and-so? Man, for real? 40. And one of them said to another, if we all do as our brethren have done, and fight not for our lives and laws against the heathen, they will now quickly root us out of the earth. Which makes sense. Yeah, if we all do this, then they're going to put us all to death quickly. 41, at that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. They was on one accord that, look, we ain't all going to die like this. We ain't all going out like this. And guess what? Most High honored that. They're on one accord, and it's lawful to do good on the Sabbath in that regard. You're fighting to defend yourself. You're not fighting just to fight for no reason or doing your own pleasure. You're defending yourself. You got the right to defend yourself, even if it is the Sabbath. So that's part of what Christ was saying. If it's an emergency, your child is sick, yeah, take him to the hospital. What you mean? You know, so yeah, the different things. It's case by case, and that's where he says that the Sabbath was there to give you rest. It was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. It wasn't a day he established. No, this is the day I want man to keep because I made this day. Nah, he's like, look, I made y'all. I want y'all to be able to have rest on this day. But certain things, yeah, it's understandable based on the circumstance that you couldn't have taken care of that prior. That's an emergency type situation. So now, verse 41, at that time, therefore, they decreed, saying, whosoever shall come to make battle with us on the Sabbath day, we will fight against him. Neither will we die all, as our brethren that were murdered in the secret places. So now, that's when they came. Verse 42, then came there unto him a company of Assyrians, who were mighty men of Israel. So you had, again, other factions of Israelites, other sects of Israelites coming together, you know, under these circumstances, say, hey, we'll be in league with you guys, you know, so we'll move with y'all. Oh yeah, them the Assyrians, yeah, they're pretty solid, you know. So, and it says, who were mighty men of Israel, even all such as were voluntarily devoted unto the law. That was the other thing, making sure these people, oh yeah, they rock. They keep the commandments pretty good, you know. So 44, so they joined their forces and smote sinful men in their anger and wicked men in their wrath. But the rest fled to the heathen for secure. So now that's when you have the division. Heathen, we fighting back. The heathen, guess what some of our people did? To sell us, they ran to the heathen. Master, save me. This ain't right. What y'all doing ain't right. This ain't it. You know, you're going to have people like that. They not going to roll. Some going to believe, some ain't. You know, so that's just the reality. 46, and what children soever they found therein, the coast of Israel, uncircumcised, though they circumcised valiantly. It was, hey, look, we doing this. Forget what they say. I don't give a damn what they say. We standing up for what's right. You know, God run this. Man don't run this. God's in control. So 48, so they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles. That was it. They started recovering the law, getting back our stuff, fighting. And guess what? In them years that passed by, they wasn't getting it in peace. It took war to get those things. It took fighting to get those things. That's what it took. Okay, sorry to say. Sometimes we want to be able to be diplomatic and be able to converse and have things be done that way. But sometimes that's not going to work because the other powers that be, the other people that be and be in control, that's not what they're trying to do. They want their agenda and they're willing to go to the sword for it. They just don't want you to go to the sword for it. So they want to maintain control however it be. That's why they hate it. When our people resort to violence, that's when they want to get everyone out there, peace. Well, there would be peace if those that were in authority would move peacefully. The whole problem we're uprising because of how they're moving and the action that they're causing. We didn't start this, they started it. We're just reacting to what they did, which we're reacting to the actions of which they took. We're responding to what it is that they first decided to do. So now, verse 48, it says, so they recovered the law out of the hand of the Gentiles, and out of the hand of kings, neither suffered they the sinner to triumph. 49, now, when the time drew near that Mattathias should die, he said unto his sons, now hath pride and rebuke gotten strength, in the time of destruction, in the wrath of indignation. Now listen to this, verse 50, now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law, and give your lives for the covenant of your fathers. So he wasn't concerned with his sons, just, oh, y'all just live and, man, be safe and, you know, and now he was like, look, y'all fight for this. If it costs you your life, man, fight for this. I showed y'all to fight. Because this was some years that had passed, you know. So watching him grow older and watching his son, this wasn't just like everything that happened at just the years, some years that passed by. 51. Call remembrance what acts our fathers did in their time. So shall ye receive great honor and an everlasting name. So he was giving the history, and you could read on down. He gave them the whole history. But let's get the conclusion of the matter. Verse 61. And thus consider ye throughout all ages that none that put their trust in him shall be overcome. That's the same today. Put your trust in the Most High. You don't know when, you don't know how, but you know the Most High is going to come through. You got to have that trust in him, that faith in him. As it says, verse 52, was not Abraham found faithful in temptation, and it was imputed unto him for righteousness? Because being faithful, that's part of that dedication and devotion. But to get there, it takes belief first. And then from there, you add to it trust. And then you take away doubt. And that's going to equal your level of faith, which is your devotion and your level of dedication. That's what you're going to have. So now, we were at 61. And now from there, let's go ahead and read verse 3 and 1, chapter 3 and verse 1. Then his son Judas, called Maccabeus, rose up in his stead. So he had his sons who were taking on roles of leadership, each one having their turn to be that leader and help guide and lead the people. Pros and cons of every leader. Every leader doesn't lead the same, but yet and still, good leaders, okay? Let's get 1 Maccabees 4, 36 to 61. Chapter 3 is a great one to read, in terms of all, so, which I get skip around in from here. He was protecting the people. Verse 3, so he got his people great honor and put on a breastplate as a giant and girded his warlike harness about him. And he made battles, protecting the host with his sword. He was protecting them through fighting, protecting the people. So, verse 6, wherefore the wicked shrunk for fear of him, and all the workers of iniquity were troubled because salvation prospered in his hand. So this was the situation. He was moving according to the word of the Most High, moving valiantly. And let's understand, like he said in verse 18, them speeches to help keep the people. Let's get 1 Maccabees 3 and 18. Unto whom Judas answered, it is no hard matter for many to be shut up in the hands of a few. And with the God of heaven, it is all one, to deliver with a great multitude or a small company. For the victory of battle standeth not in the multitude of a host, but strength cometh from heaven. And that's the key. The strength we have, the power, it all comes from the Most High. He decides whether or not we'll win or lose. Because all you got to do is make them have a bad day. They could be the most skilled warrior on the planet. All they got to do is a bad day. Let them twist their ankles, see how well they fight. For real. Let them sprain their wrists, see how well they hold that sword. That's all it takes. Like you said, verse 20, they come against us in much pride and iniquity to destroy us and our wives and children and to spoil us. But we fight for our lives and our laws. So that's what we have. Verse 22, wherefore the Lord himself will overthrow them before our face. And as for you, be ye not afraid of them. Same thing. Don't let fear overcome you. Don't be overcome by fear. But rather in that fear, find courage. Find faith, to overcome whatever trial is in front of you. It may not be this. It could be a trial with a friend, family member, a job, whatever it is. Move in faith, and still rededicate your mind and your spirit back to the Most High. Refocus your belief and your trust in the Most High that he'll guide us through. So now, let's go ahead and let's skip over. We read 3. We're going to skip down a little bit too. So, and he still followed the law and other things too. Let's get 1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 55 through 56. And it says, and after this, Judas ordained captains over the people, even captains over thousands and over hundreds and over 50s and over 10s. So captains or rulers or leaders in that regard. But as for such as were building houses, or had betrothed wives, or were planting vineyards, or were fearful, those he commanded they should return every man to his own house according to the law. So he honored those things too, understanding, because in those situations, as the law says, hey, if that's the case, and you're in that space, man, you ain't got to fight. But the rest of us, we going to hold it down, So let's go ahead and get that. We're going to skip around too. and verse 4. Let's get 36. First Maccabees 4. Let's read verse 36 on down. So we're going to read 36 on down to, we'll try to close out the rest of it with this passage, getting into the meat of the Feast of Dedication. So this is a lot of the history we're covering. Verse 38, and this is 1 Maccabees 4 and 38. When they saw the sanctuary desolate, and the altar profaned, and the gates burned up, and shrubs growing in the courts as in a forest on one of the mountains, yea, and the priest's chambers pulled down, they rent their clothes, and made great lamentation, and cast ashes upon their heads, and fell down flat to the ground upon their faces, and blew an alarm with the trumpets, and cried toward heaven. Then Judas appointed certain men to fight against those that were in the fortress, until he had cleansed the sanctuary. So he chose priests of blameless conversation, such as had pleasure in the law, who cleansed the sanctuary and bare out the defiled stones into an unclean place. And when as they consulted what to do with the altar of burnt offerings, which was profane, they thought it best to pull it down, unless it should be a reproach to them, because the heathen had defiled it. Wherefore they pulled it down, and laid up the stones in the mountain of the temple in a convenient place, until there should come a prophet to show them what should be done with them. 47. Then they took whole stones according to the law, and built a new altar according to the former. This is where you're coming in, and why we have dedication. Everything's being rededicated back to the Most High as we've taken it. So that's the process. Verse 48. And made up the sanctuary and the things that were therein within the temple, and hollowed the courts. They made also new holy vessels, and into the temple they brought the candlestick, and the altar of burnt offerings, and of incense, and the table. And upon the altar they burned incense, and the lamps that were upon the candlestick they lighted, that they might give light in the temple. Furthermore, they set the loaves upon the table, and spread out the veils, and finished all the works which they had begun to make. So this is everything that's coming in, that's bringing us back into our culture. For years, we had been without it. But now we're finally coming back. And this is what made it so big and so impactful to the feast we keep today. 52. Now on the 5 and 20th day of the 9th month, that's the 25th day of the 9th month, Caslu, in the 148th year, they rose up betimes in the morning, and offered sacrifice according to the law upon the new altar of burnt offerings which they had made. Look at what time and what day the heathen had profaned it. Even in that was it dedicated with songs and citharans and harps and cymbals. You gotta, man, that's part of the celebration, part of the playing the festive music to celebrate. Like, man, this is we fought for this and we won. You know, this is a win, a big win for our people. 55. Then all the people fell upon their faces, worshiping and praising the God of heaven, who had given them good success, helped us win those battles to be able to have this. Sometimes the Most High, he's working with you, but it ain't gonna be just rabbit out of a hat, a magic trick. It's like, nah, you got to work for it. You put in the effort, and the Most High will supply the success. You just got to put in the effort. You have to work to build it. If you build it, man, the success will come. You just got to labor. Sometimes we be afraid to labor. We don't want to labor. Or you got to make sacrifices. Some things, it just got to come with sacrifice. You put in those sacrifices, Most High, he'll reward you. Just everything is in due season. So this is what we were finally did in verse 56. And so they kept the dedication of the altar 8 days, just as we've kept it, right? We've kept that feast 8 days, and offer burnt offering with gladness. That's burnt offering. That's the food you cooking, with gladness, and sacrifice the sacrifice of deliverance and praise. They decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold. See, yeah, you could decorate. They didn't deck the halls. No, they decked the temple. They're saying they celebrating Christmas. I'm saying, nah, we decked the temple. We had the temple looking nice. We put crowns on stuff and gotten gold and stuff putting around. Yeah, put some ornaments up. Those are things that we were doing. So you can decorate. Don't be afraid to decorate for the feast. Make it look nice. You know, put some stuff up there. Put some drapes. Put some colors. So, and it said they decked also the forefront of the temple with crowns of gold and with shields. And the gates of the chambers they renewed and hanged doors upon them. Thus was there very great gladness among the people, for that the reproach of the heathen was put away. So there was gladness. Gladness finally for our people, because many years, man, we ain't had this. Now we finally got it. That's a whole different level of joy, and it comes with the pride you have in the history of your forefathers and people. If you don't care about it, then I didn't miss it. You ain't care. It's like, really? For thousands, man, that was established for centuries. Many centuries. So now, verse 59, moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, everyone that was there that was righteous trying to keep the laws, they ordained that the days of dedication of the altar should be kept in their season, okay, in their time, in their season, which is around that winter season, okay? So their season from year to year. Every year we keep it by the space of 8 days. It's an 8-day feast, okay? From the 5 and 20th day of the month of Keslu with mirth and gladness. And at the time also they builded up the Mount Zion with the high walls and strong towers round about, lest the Gentiles should come and tread it down, as they had done before. And they set there a garrison to keep it, and fortified Bethsur to preserve it, that the people might have a defense against Idumea. Idumea, the children of Esau. Get 1 Maccabees 5:65. Children of Esau. 1 Maccabees 5:65. Afterward went Judas forth with his brethren and fought against the children of Esau, the land toward the south. You know, so that's the children of Idumea. So that is children of Esau. Let's get John 10:22. Get John 10:22. That they continue to keep it in the time of Christ. Let's see. John 10:22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of the dedication, and it was winter. So guess what? They were still keeping it. You know, it was still something that was ordained. You know, something that Christ grew up keeping, he was keeping, you know, in honor. So this was still something that, man, we got to make sure that we're applying as our forefathers were applying. Let's get 2 Maccabees. 2 Maccabees chapter 1. 2 Maccabees chapter 1, let's read verse 18. 2 Maccabees chapter 1 and verse 18, and it reads, Therefore, whereas we are now purposed to keep the purification of the temple upon the 5 and 20th day of the month Caslu, we thought it necessary to certify you thereof, that ye also might keep it as the feast of Tabernacles, and of the fire, which was given us with Nehemiah's offered sacrifice, after that he had builded the temple and the altar. You read about that more in Leviticus 23, 34 through 36, how it was kept like tabernacles, and actually, we'll actually get there. So, I'll say get the book of Leviticus chapter 23. Read a little bit more, 34 through 36, just a little bit. Leviticus chapter 24, verse 34, speaking to the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of the 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord. On the first day shall be an holy convocation. You should do no servile work therein. So the first day, hey, we're going to have that holy convocation, just like, you know, they did for Tabernacle, we're going to do for dedication. That's what he's saying. 36, 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. On the 8th day shall be a holy convocation unto you. You shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and you shall do no servile work therein. But you can cook and do those things, just no buying, selling, working. But yeah, you can cook, be festive in those things. So they made a decree like, man, we're going to keep dedication after this, all this. Man, we're going to keep it like how we kept tabernacles, man. And the Most High, he honored that, you know. And so with the history and the honor of the Most High and our people, we honor it, and we're going to continue to honor it. So with that, man, pray you guys enjoyed the lesson, got a good level, the history, the understanding, and pray that you continue to dedicate more of your mind, your spirit, and your will to that of the Most High God and His Word. So with that, I'm Brother Yatai with Sound Faith Ministries, and I say shalom.